Hi there, my name's Aaron and I'm on the shores of the Parramatta River in Ryde, introducing you to the River to Ryde, Ryde to the River project.
The River to Ryde, Ryde to the River project grows out of listening to the local residents. Aspirations of the people of Ryde were collected through the Super Sydney process, and we have, for example, Margaret, who is interested in activating nature strips for permaculture gardening. Hayden is interested in completing the cycle network, a similar interest to Barry, who is also concerned about population growth. How do we feed the growing population? Bev is interested in continuous corridors of bushland to offset high-rise development, and Rosemary speaks of providing ways to connect with others and share means of sustainable living. The last three are involved in Sydney Permaculture North, a vibrant group of 500 members looking at educating the public in how to live in tune with the local ecology. The River to Ryde project also responds to strategic planning. The Ryde 2021 Community Strategic Plan speaks of connecting missing links in cycleways and collaborating with partners to forge a transport linkage between Top Ryde and Meadowbank Station. The Integrated Open Space Plan identifies a need for a recreational linkage between Top Ryde and the Parramatta River, connecting with the existing open space resources, and has within it this diagram, which identifies areas of poor access to open space. One such area of particularly poor access is this strip from Top Ryde to the Parramatta River via Belmore Street. The north anchor being the Top Ryde Civic Centre development proposal, a controversial proposal of hundreds of new apartments, a council chambers and a performance space. The south anchor being the Ryde Riverwalk project, recently completed, an upgrade to this public domain, to the wharf, which is not currently on the ferry wharf system, and an upgrade to the cycle path, a regional cycle link along the Parramatta River. What other cycle paths traverse the River to Ryde precinct?
And in answering that question, looking at regional and local cycle networks, we begin to see a metropolitan consequence of the River to Ryde.
With respect to the Connecting Places stream, the River to Ryde precinct engages with the existing on-road cycle path extending from Top Ryde to West Ryde Station, to Putney and to Meadowbank Station in the opposite direction. From along the rail line, one can access Macquarie Park. Our regional cycle link along the Parramatta River connects us to northern Sydney in one direction and to Parramatta in the opposite. Crossing the Ryde Bridge allows for cycle access to roads and to the Cooks River cycleway beyond. The River to Ryde acts as a north-south connector between these routes, clear of the congested Ryde Bridge to Lane Cove Road thoroughfare. The project presents a new green axis extending from the Parramatta River to the heart of Top Ryde. It serves as a linkage for pedestrians and cyclists, protagonists of a new era of a greener and more habitable metropolis. You'll notice that the path crosses Victoria Road, not currently crossable either by cycle or pedestrians. And so, the central anchor of the River to Ryde project is a green bridge spanning Victoria Road and reconnecting the two sides of Belmore Street. This bridge affords views towards the historic precinct adjacent, including the Ryde Police Station, as well as views to Sydney.
And so we see that there is a duality at play in the River to Ryde project. There are the hard elements like the bridge over Victoria Road and the shared pedestrian cycle path put into place. Then over time, the soft elements driven by the local residents grow.
Let's look at some examples of duality in the River to Ryde project. Here is Belmore Street, and here it is activated with the shared cycle pedestrian path and permaculture gardens run by the local community. Again, Belmore Street at the point where Victoria Road descends to meet the ground, and there it is, that hard element adjacent to these soft elements of permaculture gardens growing over time. So the local residents are driving these soft elements of permaculture gardens and seedlings of activity, pavilions that are kit of parts. These pavilions are selected in terms of their use and location by the local community. Barry may establish a seedling of activity as a nursery. Margaret may establish a pair of seedlings for cooking and eating the River to Ryde produce, whilst Bev may simply be interested in a seedling as a meeting point in her bushland corridor. Rosemary, representing Sydney Permaculture North, may occupy one of the seedlings on the Green Bridge itself for permaculture education, whilst Hayden may be all for a seedling established as a bike hub. In the parkland at the termination of Belmore Street, Sydney Permaculture North have set up a seedling of activity, activated every Saturday morning for the sale of native and food-producing plants for growing along the River to Ryde Permaculture Garden strip. On the remaining days of the week, this pavilion is well utilised by locals who set up a table for dining, being near a public barbecue. Students at Meadowbank Public School have established a seedling of activity for educational purposes. Here we see a teacher guiding a small class of students as they plan how to activate the nature strip in front of their school for permaculture gardening. Throughout its life, this seedling will be used as a congregating point for students as they tend to their permaculture gardens.
And so now we understand the project in its overall sense. Let's delve into the detail.
Let's begin with the River to Ryde shared cycle pedestrian path on Belmore Street. We can see that curbside parking in one direction has been removed to allow for an on-road cycle route with the adjacent footpath reconfigured to the curb edge to maximise permaculture gardening space. With the base of the footbridge shown in grey, the footpath widens to the width of the footbridge where cyclists can mount the curb to ascend the bridge. We can see a seedling of activity has been nestled amongst the permaculture gardens here. On the north of Victoria Road, the footbridge descends over, being open below for permaculture gardening. The footbridge has thinned the road width and will connect to the on-road cycle path ahead. And now let's continue with the pedestrian bridge over Victoria Road, a beacon of urban ecology acting as a placemaker for Ryde and its interest in a sustainable future, visible to the over 50,000 vehicles passing below each day. Unlike an on-grade crossing, the act of a bridge achieves a place-making identity for the people of Ryde, as well as being a destination in itself. The Green Bridge is as much a place to stop as it is to traverse, affording views across Ryde's heritage precinct and as far as the Sydney CBD. Rammed earth at the ramp entry points, planter boxes at edges for vine growth, cantilevered seedlings of activity, thatch roofing throughout, open colonnade below, stitching the severed Belmore Street for cycling. To the plan now, the ramp at 1 in 20, seedlings offering opportunity to stop and view, fronting tiered seating, the seating centred between a meandering lane and a fast lane for commuters, the fast lane on the left in this section, adjacent the tiered seating, fronting the meandering lane, which feeds into the seedlings, a meeting point for friends. Planting along the permaculture strip is proposed to be managed jointly by Sydney Permaculture North and the local residents immediately fronting the River to Ryde continuous productive urban landscape. Individual plots along the permaculture strip are divided according to the width of the property frontages and are planted by the adjacent property owner or via a land share system whereby owners can invite interested citizens of Sydney to activate their plot. Plants can include dwarf fruit trees, particularly citrus varieties. These can be underplanted with herbs and native flowers to attract pollinating insects. Planting on the bridge will respond to the predominant vegetation indigenous to the Ryde area, being turpentine ironbark forest, supported in soils derived from Wianamata shale. The limited number of trees within the central planter bed may be cheese tree, blueberry ash, or yellow tea tree, with a wide variety of ground cover and grasses growing in, over, and around the bridge, including Peru lily, Dianella, purple twining pea, lamandra, and wonga vine.
And so from the site of the Top Ryde Civic Centre, thank you for joining me in my River to Ryde journey, an urban architecture project that begins and ends with the local residents, grounded in connectivity and inspiring a stronger urban ecological role of the metropolis.